Okay guys, we got a pretty big job here. Saturn Ion, y'all know it. Buddy of mine, I do all the work on his car. But he's taking it to a mechanic, and turns out he needs a steering shaft and a steering rack. Now the Saturn Ion steering rack is the exact same as like a Chevy Cobalt, anything like that. Okay guys, so I don't know how well you can see that in there. Let me zoom in. Right in there. You see how badly that is worn out? And his steering actually catches when he turns a corner. So we're going to show you how to do a steering rack and steering shaft on a Chevy Cobalt / Saturn Ion. Okay guys, here we are inside the vehicle, and it's just a matter of pulling this out. Pulling this rubber grommet out. I'll get a screwdriver and pry it under there. And removing that bolt there, and the exact same is on the actual steering rack, just a single bolt to pull it out. So we're gonna pull this bolt off, separate it, and pull the one off of the actual steering rack under the vehicle, and separate that and pull this out. Okay guys, so you'll notice when I turn the wheel here, you see that little dot, let's say right there, that little dot is pretty much in line with this. So that's where we're going to mark our steering when we put the new shaft in. So make sure you leave your marks, so you can tell there's a factory mark right here, and there's actually on the shaft itself for centering, a mark on the steering shaft itself. It's kind of hard to see, but it's there. So I'm going to keep those marks when I put the new shaft on, and you can tell I've got it loosened. I just stuck a little screwdriver in and pried it apart just slightly to give me some slack, and I've got the bolt on the inside there undone, and it's an actual keyed shaft. So all I have to do is hit it with a hammer and slide it off that keyed shaft. Okay guys, you'll see I have actually removed the whole bolt, and basically it's just going to go in my bolt bin because you get a new one. So what I'm actually doing is using an air chisel with a point, and I'm just going to put it in here. Sorry about that, but that's actually spreading it apart. And that'll get me what I need to be able to slide it off. So now we're gonna straighten our wheel. Okay. And we're going to keep that nice and straight, and we're going to pull the shaft. It's already removed from the steering gear. So now we're just going to slide this little boot up here as far as we can, and I'm gonna pull it down. Okay guys, so we got our steering shaft out, and that can be basically thrown in the garbage, because I'll show you in a second. Okay guys, so you'll notice the play in this steering shaft, so it definitely had to be removed. Okay guys, now that we got our steering shaft off, we're gonna knock off these tie rod ends here. We'll get both sides, and it's just pretty sure it's 18 mil. Sorry, pretty sure it's an 18 mil bolt, and we'll just spin them off. Now that we got our tie rods off, we're just gonna take, there's one bolt there, there's one bolt right there, and there's one exactly opposite on the other side. Really? Alrighty guys, so now that we have the two bolts out, you'll see this transmission mount here that comes around. Now you just kind of gotta weed it out left side through that, and that's as simple as this job is. I'm a little caught down there, but I'll get out on the other side and pull it through. Guys, there it is. So now all I'm gonna do is pull off the tie rod ends, counting each turn, and put it on the new one. So to make it easy to get my tie rod ends off, I just put the nut in the vise and loosened it up, and I'll do the same to the other side. That way I can just use a 17 mil wrench on the tie rod end. And now what I'm gonna do is count my turns spinning it out to put on the new one. Okay guys, so this new one here is actually a remanufacture, and I'm kinda not impressed, because you can tell the actual scarring here where somebody had vice grips on it, and the nut threading right here is really hard to get past. So I'm gonna have to actually set this in the vise and screw my tie rod back on. Guys, so I've got my steering rack shoved through, and now it's just a matter of putting these two bolts back in and my steering shaft and lining everything up. Okay guys, so that's it. Got her all together now. Got the bolts torqued down. Yep, it was a pretty simple job. Actually very simple. So this is how to install a steering rack and a steering shaft on a Cobalt or Ion.